You know how it is. Packed classrooms, research deadlines, the emails just never stop. Faculty life is, well, intense.
It really is.
And you're surrounded by people all day, right? Colleagues, students.
Mm.
So it might sound a bit strange to talk about feeling isolated, but that sense of real connection, feeling like you're not totally alone in facing all the pressures, sometimes that can be hard to find.
Yeah, definitely.
So today we're doing a deep dive into something really fundamental for your overall well-being, social connection.
Super important.
We're looking at insights from the 2023 U.S. Surgeon General's advisory, which really digs into the impact of loneliness and isolation.
And it's pretty eye-opening stuff.
And we'll also explore some practical tools, drawing on ideas from the studies like the 2020 CU Flourish study, which looked at well-being right in university settings.
Right, things you can actually use. What's really striking, like you said, from the Surgeon General's advisory, is just how common loneliness is.
Yeah.
Around half of adults in the U.S. say they've experienced it. And this isn't just, feeling a bit down.
Yeah.
No, the data shows it has really significant effects on our health. And for faculty specifically, well, the demands are huge, right?
Tell me about it.
Teaching, research, admin work. It often means long hours, maybe fewer chances for those deeper connections, even on a busy campus.
Absolutely. And the advisory, it points out that loneliness and social isolation actually boost your risk of dying prematurely. Pretty substantially, too.
Yeah, the numbers are stark.
By 26% for loneliness and 29% for social isolation. But here's the bit that really got me.
What's that?
They compared the mortality impact of lacking social connection, get this, to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow, 15.
15. And they say it's even greater than the risks we hear about all the time, like obesity and not getting enough exercise.
That's a powerful comparison, isn't it? Really puts it in perspective.
It does.
And thinking bigger picture, the economic costs are just enormous. The advisory mentioned for older adults alone, isolation costs Medicare something like $6.7 billion extra a year.
Billion. Wow.
Yeah. And then for employers, you've got stress-related absenteeism because of loneliness, costing maybe $154 billion annually. It's huge.
So it's really not just about, feeling sad or alone emotionally. It hits our physical health hard, too.
Definitely.
The advisory talks about increased risk for cardiovascular disease. Like a 29% higher chance of heart disease.
And a 32% increased risk of stroke.
Right. And links to dementia, too, especially
Yeah.
in older adults, something like a 50% increased risk, plus higher rates of depression and anxiety.
It just hammers home that social connection isn't some kind of optional extra.
It's fundamental.
Yeah, it's a basic human need. A really key predictor, as the advisory stresses, of not just how long we live, but how well we live, our health span.
And it's not just about having lots of contacts, is it?
No, not at all. It's about the quality, the function, the structure of those relationships. Do they feel supportive, meaningful?
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. The advisory talks about a social ecological model. What does that mean for us, practically?
Well, the core idea is that our connection level isn't just down to us individually. It's influenced by lots of things.
Like what?
Like, yes, our own personalities and choices, but also our close relationships, family, friends. Then the communities we're in, our departments, our campus, our neighborhoods.
Okay.
And even bigger societal factors like cultural attitudes towards community or public policies that might support connection or sometimes hinder it.
So improving connection isn't just about trying harder ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It means we need to think about it on all those levels. It takes, a village, so to speak.
And the report also gets into how connection affects our well-being,
Right.
the different pathways.
Precisely. Biologically, it impacts things like stress hormones, cortisol levels, and inflammation in the body, even how well our immune system works.
Huh. So feeling isolated could literally make you more susceptible to getting sick.
It seems that way. Chronic isolation can kind of keep your body in a low-grade stress state. Then psychologically, connection boosts our sense of meaning, helps buffer stress, builds resilience.
Resilience, yeah, bouncing back.
Right. And it makes us feel safer, more secure. And behaviorally, it links to stuff like being more physically active, getting better sleep, even sticking to health advice or treatments.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the bigger picture? Are things getting worse? What trends did the advisory mention?
Well, yeah, that's the worrying part. There's evidence suggesting that overall social connection in the U.S. has been declining.
How so?
We're seeing like smaller social circles on average. People are participating less in community groups, religious services, things like that. And there's been a noticeable drop in trust trust in other people, and trust in institutions.
Even with social media keeping us connected.
Well, that's the paradox, isn't it? The report notes that time spent alone actually went up quite a bit between 2003 and 2020.
Right.
Yeah, while time spent face-to-face with friends went down, especially for younger adults. It sort of suggests that maybe our digital ties don't always replace that deeper in-person connection.
Okay, so it paints a bit of a concerning picture. Given all this, and knowing how busy faculty life is, what can we actually do? What are some practical steps?
Right. This is where we need concrete tools. And while we don't have the full CU Flourish study details here, the idea was that it looked at what supports well-being in universities, giving us practical strategies.
Okay.
Frameworks like PERMAH are really useful here. It's an acronym.
Right, PERMAH, positive emotions, engagement.
Relationships, meaning accomplishment.
And health. Got it. All parts of well-being.
Exactly. All interconnected.
Yeah.
So we can look at tools that hit on some of these elements and can actually fit into a packed schedule.
Okay, let's try that. Tool number 1 you mentioned was mindful breath. Seems simple, maybe too simple. How does that help with connection?
It's surprisingly powerful, actually. Even just a few moments of mindful breathing can directly dial down your body's stress response.
And stress gets in the way of connecting.
Big time. If you're stressed, you're often less patient, less open, less present with people. So a simple technique like, say, box breathing.
How does that work?
You just breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold your breath gently for 4, breathe out slowly for 4, and then pause for 4 before starting again.
In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, pause for 4. Okay.
Just doing that for a minute or two can really calm your nervous system. Creates a bit of space, helps you feel calmer, more centered, and maybe more ready for a positive interaction.
I can see that. Something you could do between meetings or even before walking into a classroom.
Exactly. Very accessible.
Okay, tool number 2, the values bullseye. How does thinking about values help with feeling less isolated?
Well, knowing what truly matters to you, your core values, gives you a sense of direction, of meaning.
Okay.
And sometimes feeling disconnected comes from a sense that your day-to-day life, your actions, aren't really lining up with those values. You feel adrift.
Right, like you're just going through the motions.
Precisely. So the values bullseye is an activity where you first identify your key values. For faculty, that might be things like intellectual discovery, mentoring students, collaboration, maybe work-life balance.
Sure.
Then you sort of map out how much time and energy you're actually putting into activities that align with each value. Often people draw it like a target or a pie chart.
And the point is?
The point is to see where the gaps are. Are you spending all your time on things that deep down aren't your top priorities? By consciously trying to shift your actions, even slightly, to better align with your values, you boost that sense of purpose.
Which combats the disconnected feeling.
Exactly. It increases engagement, makes you feel more grounded in what's important, both in your work and just in life generally. It's about being intentional with your energy.
Intentional. I like that. Okay, third tool, 3 good things. Sounds positive, but how does it work?
This one is beautifully simple but effective. At the end of your day, you just take a few minutes, literally just a few minutes, to write down 3 things that went well.
Let's list them.
List them and briefly note why they went well. What was your role in it? Or what contributed to it?
Okay, 3 good things and why.
Yeah, doing this regularly actually trains your brain to scan for positives, rather than just dwelling on the hassles or things that went wrong.
So it shifts your focus.
It does. It helps you notice and appreciate positive interactions, small wins, moments of connection you might otherwise overlook. It directly boosts positive emotions, gives a sense of accomplishment, and can be a really powerful antidote to feeling isolated or, like you're just struggling all the time.
3 good things. Mindful breath. Values bullseye. Those seem like things you could actually weave into a busy week.
They're designed to be manageable, yeah.
Now, thinking specifically about fostering social connection, based on the Surgeon General's advice for individuals, what's one really small, actionable micro-practice you'd suggest for faculty?
Okay, so given the focus in the advisory on nurturing existing relationships and how busy faculty are, I'd suggest the intentional check-in.
Intentional check-in, what does that involve?
It's super simple. Just choose one person each day. Maybe a colleague down the hall, someone you advise, maybe even a friend outside work, and make a point of having a brief, genuine check-in.
Not just about work stuff.
Right. Not the usual, did you finish that report? But more like, hey, how are you really doing? Or how was your weekend? It could be a quick chat in the corridor, a short email, maybe a text, just a small moment. focused on them as a person.
Just one a day.
Just one a day. It's about consistency. Those small, consistent efforts really add up to strengthen social bonds over time. And honestly,
Yeah.
I find even just asking, how's it going, and really listening for a minute can make a difference, maybe for both of you.
It's a great reminder that small gestures matter. Okay, finally, support. If people are feeling overwhelmed, isolated, or just need to talk, where can they turn on campus? What's a key resource?
A really crucial one at most universities is the Employee Assistance Program, the EAP.
EAP.
Right. These programs usually offer confidential counseling, resources for stress management, help with burnout, and support for all sorts of personal or work-related issues, including loneliness.
And how do you find it?
Typically, you'd look on your university's HR website, or maybe the Faculty Affairs or Wellness portal. There should be contact info, a phone number, or website.
Okay, Employee Assistance Program, EAP.
Yeah. And it's so important to remember that reaching out for support isn't weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. These resources are there to be used.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's quickly recap. We've talked about just how vital social connection is. The Surgeon General's advisory makes that crystal clear.
Major health implications.
Right, the serious health and even economic costs of loneliness. We've explored 3 practical tools inspired by frameworks like PERMAH, mindful breath,
Values bullseye.
and 3 good things. And we added that micro practice, the intentional check-in.
Plus, pointing towards the EAP for support.
So maybe the key question for you listening right now is this.
What's one small thing you could try this week? Just one.
Yeah, which of these ideas resonates? What feels like something you could actually incorporate, even in a small way? Because think about it. How might even those tiny acts of connection, whether it's checking in with someone or just taking a mindful breath before you react, how might that ripple outwards?
Strengthening not just your own well-being, but maybe making the whole campus community feel, well, a little bit more connected.